the next 2-3 slides are more about just a few tips for you to effectively manage the requirements. So again, kind of a summary of what we were discussing. Prioritize requirements, very important. Discuss with stakeholders. Find out which ones should come first and why, trying to understand the rationale. Prepare the requirements package, communicate what you'll communicate to stakeholders. The information management is what we were talking about, right? So how are you going to present them, the format, the reports and things like that. Organize requirements review sessions with the peers, with the customers, the senior stakeholders, and then we can have a third eye view of how we capture the requirements, if there are any gaps, and then trace the requirements, traceability in terms of the forward traceability, backward traceability, conduct impact analysis in terms of any changes to the requirements. What is the potential impact that it's going to have on the solution scope, on the process that we're using, on the resources, and then once it is all done, then try and get a baseline of the requirements. So that's what we call as the sprint backlog, right? So once we have got the sprint backlog, we deliver it. That's the baseline for that sprint. And then we move on to the product backlog. Again, prioritize the requirements in the backlog, then create the next sprint, that is the second baseline. So you kind of take subsequent snapshots of the backlog, and each of them is going to be incrementally adding value to your product as you go, as you complete that sprint. So let's say by the end of the first sprint, you don't have anything, you don't have a wireframe as well. But by the end of, let's say, 20th or 30th sprint, you've got pretty much, let's say, about 15, 20 features to 100 or 1,000 features, depending on the size of the product and the type of the product, the magnitude of that, and the category and all that stuff, of course. But you would have delivered something. You've added more features, better looking features, better working features, all of these that could grow in size. So, and then again, once you have got that, you need to start looking at the requirements versioning. That's where we say, have an ID for each of the requirement, and then the requirement, for that one, again, we need to traceability also would come in from there, right? So if you know which requirement has changed, you can easily go there. And then the version of the build, not just the requirement, even the versions of builds are maintained. So whatever you release, that's what we were talking about. The major release, for example, if once every 6 months, would have like a whole number, 1.0, 2.0, like in iOS 14.0, iOS 13.0, Android, again 11.0. Whereas the minor versions, small updates, features, fixes, bug fixes, patches, updates, small little things, security fixes, all of that could be in a decimal number, like 11.3.4.6 could be that, right? So all of this would really help you understand and have a better grip on how you're managing the requirements. So maintain your requirements. This is actually what we are doing all along, right? So you maintain, you basically CRUD, you create a new requirement, you review it, you update it, and then you delete that requirement if it is not relevant anymore. So all the typical CRUD is basically what we call as maintain: create, review, update, delete. And we can use a lot of requirement management tools for this. We've had a look at it already. We were talking about all those rows and Rational Requisite Pro, and also the Exio RP for the prototyping, and some of these other things like requirement management, requirement tracing, traceability, all that, Compa and things like that. Each has got its own benefit and its own demerit.